What is up, Quidditch people? This is a little awkward as I am just recording this by myself, but here we go. So we do have myself, Tyler Beckman, and Ryan Davis on camera from our call last week. That should be coming out shortly, but I did promise some tips on how to catch myself here at Nationals or just any snitch moving forward. So here are a couple notes that I've written and things that I think most seekers could benefit from as just general tips. So in general, in trying to catch a snitch or snitching against seekers is you want to be the one causing reactions. What I mean by that is you want to be the one being more active, causing, for example, if you are trying to dive at me, you want to make a extra step to cause me to shift my hips, or you want me to have to reach for one of your wrists because you pull it in closer. And now because I reach for your wrist, the other half of me is exposed. It's about causing those reactions and getting you those open windows to shoot for your dive to grab the tail. Somebody who does this really well, Jeff Sywick, had some of the best catches against me at NLQ this past summer over at Nationals. He probably collectively had less than 2 minutes against me in both of our games. It was San Antonio versus Indy, and Indy caught both games. I'm not sure the results. I think San Antonio might have won, but either way, the point is Sywick steps with his off leg. He steps with his off leg, which from my years of experience as a snitch, I've been ingrained in my mind. If somebody steps with one leg, they're more likely than not going to that side. Sywick has this incredible ability to step to the left and then all of a sudden be vertical. Pow. He just goes right around to the right hand side, opposite of whatever leg he led with, which is very rare. Most people don't do that. Not everybody's going to be able to replicate that move because it takes a certain level of mobility and quickness. But it's just an example of having that second move. Another thing that would be helpful is keep your head up until you're going in for your final dive. If you are more or less just putting your head down and running at me, and I put my hands on your shoulders, you might as well just dive into the ground or kind of just stay there because it's very unlikely that I am just going to let you catch at that point. I'm likely backstepping with you all the way over to whatever line that is, and I'm waiting for the moment to just shove you over to the left or shove you over to the right, and then I'll loop back around. But either way, you putting your head down and just kind of pushing forward isn't going to get you through my fully extended locked arms. It's just not realistic. In general, having second moves. So somebody who I spoke with at CCI was actually Josh Andrews, and I was actually having a pleasant conversation with him about seeking and snitching and some of our better matchups. And he told me this analogy that I hadn't heard of for snitching before. Is he likes to think of it like boxing. And when he brought that up, it instantly clicked, made a lot of sense of the causing reactions like that. So in boxing or in any combat sport, there's something called feints. So if I was to just throw a right punch at somebody, right, that is going to typically cause a reaction. But if I know that's going to be their reaction to my right hand punch, I don't actually have to throw the full punch. I just have to load it up and look like I'm about to cause them to move one way or the other, and then I hit them with the opposite hand. That's what I mean by those reactions. And that's really just baiting those hip switches, those turns, and whatever movements you can to create a slightly larger window for you to pull. Some other people I have on here who have done really well against me or have really good habits. TJ Generate. So he's one of the better people at backing off of the seeker or of the snitch and re-engaging. So something I'll tell seekers is you don't want to go running straight from the hoops all the way over to midline to go pull the snitch. You want to run up closer. And I probably say anywhere from 2 to 4 steps out from the snitch is enough for you to gain some momentum to get through my arms or get through whatever dive you want to get that speed, but not enough to cause a charge, which is a very big importance because if you go from straight from the hoops and you just run straight at me full speed, it's more than likely a charge, and the catch, even if you manage to get it, is likely going to be called off due to unsafe conduct, and it's just not really sound seeker technique. You want to be a little bit more strategic with it. One of the other incredible college seekers, Henry Bear Benson, plays for Tufts, great guy. I I've had a couple matchups against him. He's always positive spirit. Unfortunately, he hasn't caught against me yet. And I think it's mainly because he consistently dives to one side and kind of has like a slight hop step and then dives to the same side, which is essentially the same move. It's just to make that one dive, and it's from so far out. Now, I think most of the time he's going against snitches who either don't have the experience of the turn or aren't as tall, have the wingspan to defend against it. I'm luckily to be vertically blessed, so I can just kind of extend my arms and pivot properly and have some experience against that. But that's going to work against a lot of mid-level snitches. But if he added that fake and then dove the opposite side, again, that might be a more sound strategy against a more experienced snitch. I expect most experienced snitches shouldn't be caught on a first move. It should really be the cause of the first move gives the second opening, and you really need to have that second move in your bag of tricks to be able to pull high level snitches. Being active is another thing. So on here, I have Jack Melnick and Kenny Chilton. They're both very active seekers. So if they are running up against you, their arms are constantly moving. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit, I don't want to say out of control because it's not reckless or dangerous necessarily, but they're always moving, and it's making it hard for me to grab any grips or get a hold where I can actually pivot the person and cause them to react to my movements, which again is my goal as well. I want to grab a wrist. I want to stop you from having that momentum. Which brings me to that last point of the disengaging of TJ Generate, which, by the way, UMD seeker. If I grab your wrist and I have both of your wrists, well, you're not going to take both of your wrists and get them through my hands to my back to catch. Like, that's just not a realistic expectation. So what you realistically need to do is take a step back, pull your hand back, and reset. And that's what I mean by the disengage, re-engage that TJ does very well. Trey Presley played for Aviators this past summer. I believe plays for Terminus this year. Had a really good catch against me in MLQ. I was basically just too vertical and I was on my heels. So that brief moment that I'm on my heels and I'm on my back foot, he's just low enough to be able to make that pull, which is nice. Who else do I have on here? I think that was all the people that I had listed for specific things to make notes of, but there's plenty of great seekers I've gone against this year. Hopefully none of this was a slight on anybody. The last thing I have is strong seeker rotation. So something to keep in mind as the snitches out there is they don't get a sub unless there's an injury. So in theory, I hope most snitches never get a sub because I would prefer they stayed safe and didn't get injured. With that being said, if you have a really strong first seeker or second seeker and you're sending the first one to make the other one, make the snitch a little bit more tired, both of which are valid strategies. And you could argue, myself, Beckman, and Ryan Davis all discuss some of those strategies on our call, which will be released shortly. But strong seeker rotation. So if you have a strong seeker rotation where really you don't want to just have one person go out there lazily to give your other seeker a break, because that also gives me a break. So the longer I'm out there, the easier it becomes to catch me because my arms are more tired from pushing against the seekers. My legs are more tired because I've had to absorb those pushes and those dives and had to shift my hips and stay in a squatted position. So as the length of time goes on in the game, it does become a little bit easier. Having beaters get you some support so you can actually have some one-on-one time with me, or being shoulder to shoulder with the other seeker so you're both going at me, it does create somewhat of a 50-50, but if you're shoulder to shoulder, it's less likely to be a straight up 50-50, and normally the better seeker in that situation will come away with the pull, but it does leave openings, so all those strategies deserve some merit. So that is worth mentioning. But really just having that strong seeker rotation where it's not just your one all-star seeker who goes out there and then your second person goes in just to give them a break. You really want to go in there, whether it is for a minute, for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. I don't care how long that seeker is in there, but they should be consistently running to make those attempts, and keep me tired. The more tired I am, or the more rest you give me, the greater the impact is in the later minutes of the game, which is where the catches either occur or you just end up hitting set score, which hopefully you're on the winning side of that. But 3.5 points towards your final total is helpful. So with all that being said, I know this is before nationals. It's only a few days, but I did promise I was going to get this out there for everybody. So I hope you guys enjoyed and got something out of this. Thanks.